Have you ever looked back on a decision and quietly admitted to yourself, "I knew it"? Not because someone warned you, not because you had proof, but because something deep inside you had already sensed it. Maybe you trusted the wrong person even though something felt off the moment you met them. Perhaps you ignored an opportunity that everyone else thought was perfect. Or maybe you changed your plans for no logical reason, only to discover later that it was exactly the right choice. Most people brush these moments aside. They call them coincidence, wishful thinking, luck. But what if your gut feeling isn't irrational at all? What if it's one of the most sophisticated forms of intelligence your brain possesses, working quietly behind the scenes, recognizing patterns long before your conscious mind has caught up? Welcome to Mystic Reflections. In today's video, we're exploring what intuition really is, why science is finally beginning to understand it, and how learning to recognize it could completely change the way you make decisions. Your brain sees more than you ever realize. Here's something that sounds almost unbelievable. Your brain processes millions of pieces of information every second, yet only a tiny fraction ever reaches conscious awareness. Every conversation you have contains far more information than just words. Your subconscious is constantly observing facial expressions, subtle changes in tone, body language, eye movement, posture, timing, even whether someone's smile reaches their eyes. You aren't consciously analyzing all of that. Your brain is doing it automatically. Imagine meeting someone for the first time. Everything they say sounds perfectly reasonable, yet something feels off. You can't explain it. Hours later, or perhaps weeks later, you discover they weren't being truthful. Suddenly it makes sense. The interesting part is this. Your intuition didn't predict the future. It recognized a pattern before your conscious mind understood what it was seeing. That's an important distinction. Real intuition isn't magic. It's often perception operating beneath conscious awareness. Why it's called a gut feeling. Now here's something many people don't know. Your digestive system contains hundreds of millions of neurons. Scientists call this network the enteric nervous system, and it's often nicknamed the body's second brain. No, it doesn't think like your brain, but it communicates constantly with it through a network of nerves, especially the vagus nerve. That's why anxiety can make your stomach tighten, why excitement can feel like butterflies, why devastating news can make you physically nauseous before you've even processed what happened. Your body isn't simply reacting to your thoughts. Sometimes your body is part of the thinking process itself. Perhaps that's why intuition is so often felt physically before it can be explained intellectually. A tightness in the chest, a sinking feeling, an unexpected sense of calm. The body sometimes notices what the mind hasn't yet put into words. Fear isn't the same as intuition. This is where many people become confused. Fear and intuition can feel surprisingly similar. Both can tell you to stop. Both can make your heart beat faster. Both can make you hesitate. But there's one crucial difference. Fear usually talks. It creates endless stories. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if everything falls apart? Fear keeps adding more dialogue. Intuition usually doesn't. It often arrives as a simple knowing, quiet, brief, almost effortless. Then it's gone. No debate, no drama. Just a gentle feeling that something deserves your attention. Ironically, because intuition isn't loud, many people mistake the louder voice for the wiser one. Experience creates better intuition. One of the biggest myths about intuition is that some people are simply born with more of it. In reality, intuition often grows through experience. Imagine a firefighter entering a burning building. Within seconds, they suddenly order everyone to leave. Moments later, the floor collapses. People sometimes describe stories like this as supernatural, but researchers studying expert decision-making found something even more fascinating. Years of experience had trained the firefighter's brain to recognize countless tiny warning signs without conscious effort. The temperature, the sound, the movement of smoke, the way the fire behaved. none of it reached conscious thought in time. But together, those subtle clues triggered an unmistakable feeling. Experience had become intuition. The same thing happens with musicians, surgeons, athletes, pilots, detectives, and even parents. The more patterns your brain has encountered, the faster it can recognize them again. Why modern life makes intuition harder to hear? If intuition is always working, why does it sometimes seem to disappear? Perhaps it hasn't disappeared at all. Perhaps it's simply being drowned out. Think about how much noise fills an average day. Notifications, conversations, music, emails, social media, constant opinions. Rarely do we sit quietly without reaching for another distraction. Yet nearly every contemplative tradition throughout history emphasized silence. Not because silence was magical, but because subtle things become easier to notice when everything else becomes quieter. Meditation wasn't originally about escaping the world. It was about learning to observe without constant mental interference. When the mind becomes less crowded, small signals become easier to recognize, not because intuition suddenly appears, but because you finally have room to hear it. Intuition can be wrong, and that's important. Now here's something that often gets overlooked. Not every gut feeling is genuine intuition. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's bias, sometimes it's simply an old emotional wound repeating itself. For example, if someone reminds you of a person who once betrayed you, your discomfort might have nothing to do with them at all. Your brain is making an association. That's why wisdom isn't blindly following every feeling. It's learning to question them with honesty. Real intuition becomes more reliable as self-awareness grows. The better you understand your own fears, the easier it becomes to recognize what isn't fear. Strengthening your intuition. So can intuition actually become stronger? Many researchers and many contemplative traditions would say yes, not by trying harder, but by paying closer attention. Notice your first impression before your mind begins building arguments. Spend a few minutes each day without distractions. Reflect on moments when your instincts proved accurate, and moments when they didn't. Over time, you'll begin noticing something remarkable. Your intuition has a different texture than anxiety. It feels quieter, steadier, less emotional, more like recognition than imagination. And perhaps the more familiar you become with that feeling, the more confidently you'll know when it's speaking. Final reflection. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about intuition is believing it's something mysterious that only a few people possess. Maybe it's something far more ordinary, and therefore far more extraordinary. A remarkable ability that has quietly evolved within every one of us, not to predict the future, but to recognize patterns before our conscious mind has finished connecting the dots. The next time you experience a subtle feeling you can't quite explain, don't rush to obey it. But don't rush to dismiss it either. Pause, observe, listen. Because sometimes the wisest part of you speaks long before it finds the words. If you enjoyed this exploration into intuition, consciousness, and the hidden abilities of the human mind, consider subscribing to Mystic Reflections for more videos that bridge modern understanding with timeless wisdom. And now I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a gut feeling that turned out to be right? Share your story in the comments below. You might be surprised how many others have experienced the very same thing.